Sound picking up? Sound picking up? Pick up, pick up, pick up, pick up.
Okay. You're good.
Hey, welcome. My name is Mark Hunter, the Sales Hunter. You found us live on Facebook, YouTube, and Vimeo. We are 32 hours into the launch. Thank you so much. A Mind for Sales it's been amazing. We had set some pretty high goals as a team, and let me tell you something. We have gone way past them, and it's because of you really reaching out, grabbing a copy of it, and then commenting on it on social media and sharing it with others. I've already had a number of people email me, write me, call me, that said, hey, I hadn't heard about you, but I found you from somebody else because they sent me a note and bought the book. So anyway, so appreciate it. Hey, here's what we're going to be talking about. We got some great questions, and I do have to tell Micah that I don't have the monitor up here, so I can't see what the questions are. We're going to get to them in just a second, but let me tell you about a couple things. A Mind for Sales. I was doing a podcast this morning with David Newman, Do It Marketing. It's a great podcast. And he was asking me, what are some things that you can do if you're just flat out struggling? And I said, here's what it is. It's about having conversations. It's about not having negative conversations. It's about having positive conversations. You may be in an area in sales right now where it's just not, hey, you know what? Make it your objective. Your objective each day is to have one meaningful conversation with somebody where they share with you a piece of information that you in turn can turn around and share with somebody else. And when you can do that, that's a pretty cool thing. Here's the whole thing. We're in a PC world. I don't call this PC as in political correctness. I call it PC as in post-COVID-19. Okay, we're not there yet. I get it. But I want you to be thinking, we're going to come out of this. We are going to come out of this. We as a nation, as a world, have been in these situations before, and we always do. And we come out of it better. And one of the things that I tell people right now is be looking at who your customers are. Who are your customers? And more importantly, who are your customers' customers? When you begin to see who your customers' customers are, it'll begin to give you a little sense as to what industries, what areas are going to come back first. How might you help them better? What might you be able to do? Now, if you just joined us, I'm Mark Hunter, the Sales Hunter. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Vimeo. And Mike, I still don't have the monitor up here, but I know you're working on it. I've got a producer here, there's the monitor. And here's a couple of things. We had a great launch party Monday night. You know, in this room I'm in right now, we had actually planned to have about 150 people for a live party. Well, that didn't quite work out. Simply just can't do it. So we took it online and we did a virtual launch party, and we had a number of great guests come on. Anthony Iannarino, who wrote the foreword to the book, he was on. Victor Antonio, Mike Weinberg, Larry Levine, Sam Richter, Meredith Elliott Powell, who I get to co-host a great podcast with. If you're looking for a podcast to download, check out Sales Logic. I'm the co-host with Meredith Elliott Powell. We put a new episode out each week. And we had a whole variety of other guests. Okay, hey, let's jump into the questions. We got a number of questions. So let's go ahead and put that first question up on the screen there, if you will. There it is. I'm on the phones working outbound sales. When a prospect gives a quick no, how can I keep them on the phone? Okay, now this question I could run with forever, because there's a number of ways you can look at no. I hear people say, well, you hear the word no, that just stands for next opportunity. And you're just like, go on, move on, next. I don't necessarily look at that. When I hear a no is only a moment in time. And I want to do two things. One, I want to take this person who said no, and I want to still earn the right, the privilege, honor, and respect to be able to meet with that person again. So I'm going to respect their no, but I'm going to ask them a question. I'm going to ask them a question to come back and to get them to clarify and expound on. Many times what happens is they're saying no for one simple reason. They don't want you on the phone. They don't have time for you. I get that. Because if I'm prospecting, I'm interrupting their day, which means I haven't brought enough value to them. So when I hear that, no, I'm going to be very polite, very respectful, understanding it's just a moment in time, but I'm going to go ahead and come back to them. And I'm going to say, hey, so help me understand. So what element of it, or when is a good time? In other words, I'm looking for something to help engage them with. And when I do that, it is amazing how much additional information I get. Now, if I don't get any additional information and they want to end the call, fine, that's okay. Then, you know what? It's over. I'm not going to lose sleep over it. And that's the final key piece I want to leave you with. Never allow one call and the emotions you get from it to bleed into the next call. Each call you make is a freestanding moment in time. So you may have somebody who just jumps all over you, we'll say. And you can easily allow that to impact your next 20 calls. And what'll happen is that you won't listen, and the next 20 calls will be a waste. You have to make sure that each opportunity you have to speak to somebody is a new opportunity. Hey, let's go ahead and jump over to the next question there. And we're going to get this up here. My customers are spooked. I want to be honest about the world, but help calm them too. What can I say? You're right. This is. Now, here's the whole thing. Everybody's got a backstory. Everybody. Take the time to listen to the backstory, both personal and professional. We're all kind of in a work from home environment right now, and that makes for some unusual situations. I've had more situations where I've been talking with people that dogs are barking or kids are running in the room, whatever. That's okay. That's just life. That's okay. You know what? Celebrate the opportunity. Respect people for where they are. Do not pass judgment. Just because somebody's talking to you and it sounds like they're standing in the middle of a garage or something like that, or they're in the kitchen and noise all around, it's okay. You may be on a Zoom call. You may be on some sort of a video call, and there may be all kinds of things going on in the background. It's okay. And here's the whole thing. You want to be honest about that. Yes. Here's the whole thing. You don't have to jump in the sewer with them. Here's what I like to say. I'm going to share with them a positive note. They might say, wow, it's amazing. I can't believe how negative it is. Hey, I know, but you know what? It really does sound like they're making progress on this, or they're on this. You always want to leave whoever it is that you're speaking to in a better position than you found them. Because here's the whole thing. They may find themselves in a situation where it's just a negative environment, just totally negative. So if you can be the bright voice, if you can be the person who sheds some light that allows them to see bigger, that allows them to see beyond, it is amazing how you will have been able to influence and impact their day. You may not be able to do anything to move them closer to a sale, but you know what? You will. Because here's what I found. Two things are going to happen. They're going to remember that call with you. They're going to remember it. And two, you will have made yourself feel better. When you surround yourself and dialogue in positive communication, it is amazing how it changes your outlook. And it's amazing how you will wind up having other people come to you. There's a line in my book, A Mind for Sales, where I say when you prospect, when you sell with integrity, you will get customers, clients, who have integrity. You bet you will. And it's amazing, when you sell positively, it's amazing how you'll get positive customers. Bring hope to your customers. They don't need anything more negative, period. Next question here. And let's see, what do you have? Okay, I have good customer relationships, but I sense I'm only getting about 25% of their business. How do I approach that? Yeah, okay, this great question, because here's what I find too many times is that, and even in this COVID world, well, I got this customer and I got this business, and I don't want to risk losing the business, so I'm not going to push. No. Here's the whole thing. This is the time for you to step up and be an even bigger help to them. Now, what do I mean by this? So you might be only 25% of the business. I want you to ask yourself, why is that? Why is it? Is it because of your failing, or is it because of something else? Now, if it's because of your failing, it's just because you have not demonstrated enough value. I'm amazed at the number of times customers will make a comment, well, I didn't know you sold that. I didn't know you did that. I didn't know you could, because we never took the time. So here's one of the things that I like to do. You're on the phone with somebody, and you say, you know what, it's funny, I just got off the phone with some other customers, and we were talking about X. And you share with them a story. You share with them a story about something else that you provide, how you help them. What I have found is right now, especially, telling things by way of stories is very impactful. Because people want to have social connection. So they may not know it. So you share a story, how you've helped some other customer with this. The other piece you do is this. Hey, I know there's a number of other people in your company and some other divisions that I haven't had a chance to meet. Would love to try to connect with them. And I know we're all working from home right now, but could we set up a Zoom call? Let's set up a Zoom call with 2 or 3 other people. Invite yourself into meetings. Now, be respectful and be cordial. And it's amazing how these little simple things are going to begin opening up doors. Don't back off for a moment, because remember, if you have the ability to help somebody, it's your responsibility to do so. It is. There is still a tremendous amount of business being done out there. I'm going to share with you a very quick situation. There's a client that I do some work with, and they've brought me in to do a very specific slice of business, and I do a very specific slice. And it's very interesting, but I've begun sharing with them other slices of business I do, other things, other ways that I can help them. And it's amazing now, the conversation is becoming, we need to get you involved in that. We need to get you involved in that. What does that do? It begins opening the door. And how am I opening the door? I'm helping open the door by serving them, by sharing with them. So you may have something, some information that you can go ahead and share with them. Share it with them. Let them see it. Let them know what's happening out there. Let's go ahead and run to the next one here. And what do you feel are the top metrics for sales success? What should be on my scorecard each day? Okay. I should probably do a 1-hour webinar just on this. And hey, if you just joined me, I'm Mark Hunter, the Sales Hunter. Whether you're watching this on Vimeo, YouTube, or on Facebook, thank you. Feel free to put comments into the chat. I've got Micah here, who's kind of producing the event for me, #SocialDistanceAway, and he is helping me get additional questions into the system. So hey, fire away with them. Here's the whole thing. What do you feel are the top metrics? Okay, now, it's very easy to get caught up if you have a CRM system, which you do, you have various tools, to create all of these metrics. And I'll tell you what happens. You become overloaded on metrics. And what happens is you become nothing more than a spreadsheet jockey. You know, what's very interesting is when everybody kind of moved home over the last couple of weeks, I was hoping that the spreadsheet jockey syndrome was going to be busted. But no, it lives. It lives. It lives. People are trying to manage their business just by way of what the numbers say. The metrics that I want to look at are very simply this. What are the number of qualified prospects that I have in my pipeline? And what's the ultimate conversion rate? Okay, so that is a key metric. The other key metric I want you to look at is CFT. And I talk about CFT a lot in my book, Customer Facing Time. How much of your day is spent customer facing? Now, there's 2 ways to look at customer facing. There's CFT with existing customers, and there's CFT with prospects. And I'll tell you what, you got to be very careful with this. Right now especially, it's very easy to focus all of your time on existing customers. Now, I get it. You got to love on what you have right now. You got to love on them. You got to love on them. You got to love on them. I get that. But be careful, because what will happen is you're not spending enough time creating new customers. You must, regardless of what situation we find ourselves in, be spending X% of your time, X% of your day prospecting. It's absolutely key. So I'm going to measure CFT with existing customers and CFT with new customers, prospects. Now, what is CFT? Telephone time. That might be Zoom call time. That might be email. That might be text messaging. But it's something where you're actively engaged. It's not thinking about a customer. It's not prepping for a customer. It's actively engaged with the customer. Very, very. So those are the two most critical factors. Now, there's a little bit of a subset, two subset numbers that I'll say come into play during this COVID-19 period. And the two subset numbers are, what are the number of qualified prospects that unfortunately you have to put on hold? Okay, you have to put on hold because they're in an industry or a situation where they can't make a decision. Now, this is a critical number also to watch because you can't forget about them. It can be very easy to sit there and say, well, I'll follow up with them in 3-4 months or 2 months or when we get out of this. If you wait that long to follow up with them, by the time we come out of this thing, they could sit there and say, you know what, we need to reset everything. And suddenly all that work you did to get them into the middle part of your funnel is gone. They are totally forgetting about you. So those numbers, you've got to make sure that you're paying very, very close attention to. The other number, the other metric that I want you to pay attention to is your admin time. Here's why I say this. It is very easy when you're working from home, you maybe don't quite have the same setup and so forth. Then it's going to be very easy for your admin time to start increasing. You're going to get more caught up in the process. You're going to get more caught up in spending time out on social media. You're going to get more caught up in doing all this other stuff. I am never going to be happy with any salesperson until their admin time is down to 0. When their admin time is down to 0, then finally, because here's the whole thing. The more time I spend on admin, guess what? That means the less time I can spend on CFT or preparing to CFT. Okay? Next question. Because of COVID, all my customers have stopped spending money. What's my job as a salesperson if I can't close deals? This is a very real, very much happening out there, and I'm seeing it across a lot of industries. First of all, don't think for a moment that your customers have stopped spending. They may be telling you they've stopped spending because what they're doing is they're just trying to protect themselves. If it's urgent enough, if it's important enough, if it is of enough value to them, they will buy. They will buy. So you got to question yourself, have I made this as urgent and important and relevant for their decision-making process right now? If I haven't, then you're right. They're probably going to push this aside. And they may still push it aside just because of the fact that they're in kind of a survival mode right now. Totally get that. But here's what you want to do. You have to keep loving it. You have to keep. There's a line in my book, and I quote Jill Konrath is the one. She's written a number of great sales books. She was a mentor of mine for a number of years. I was just with her about a month and a half ago. She wrote a great line that I shared in the book. Treat your prospects as if they were customers. Think about that for a moment. You may have prospects. Treat them just as customers. I have a new newsletter I'm putting out each week. It's called Stay Calm and Lead. And I only have a few customers, and I send it to them each week. And it's just ideas, it's tips, suggestions as to what I'm hearing, what I'm seeing about what's going to unfold the following week in the marketplace. And I also send it to a couple of prospects. I send it to a couple of my better prospects. You see, I'm sending it to them because I'm treating them just like customers. Because we get post-COVID, and I know they're going to be in a position that they're going to be ready to do business with me. See? So don't allow yourself to think this. Now, here's something that you can't risk doing. You cannot risk shutting down. If you shut down, you're going to find yourself not able to start back up. Here's what I found. If you've ever lived in a very cold climate, years ago I used to live in Alaska. And in Alaska, it was so cold that we would leave our car running at night. We would literally leave the car running at night. Yeah, that was hard. It took gasoline. But here was the whole thing. It was much easier to get a running car going in the morning than a stopped car. If you stop, because what we found was that you turn that engine off for a few hours and you come out, you get in the car, it's not going to start. A stopped car is much harder to get going. So keep the engine running. Keep things happening. And what is this also going to do? It's going to keep you more motivated. Your objective right now is to serve the customer. Mark Cuban was on CNBC about a week ago. I've shared this. I think every time we've done one of these, I've shared this. I have a lot of respect for this quote. He made the comment regarding companies and their employees. He said, the way companies treat their employees today during COVID is how the employee is going to treat the customer post-COVID. Same thing goes for your customers. Same thing goes for your prospects. Treat them right. Now, next question here. I have an old list of leads we haven't engaged in a long time. What's a good way to reach back out to them? Just pick up the phone and call them. Please call them. Now, here's what I'm going to suggest. It's going to be very easy. Well, I'm just going to send out 10,000 emails. How are you doing in this? Oh, shut up. I can't tell you the hundreds of emails I have received with this. Drives me nuts. Pick up the phone, call them. Pick up the phone. It is amazing, still to this day. I had some conversations this week with people who I have never talked to before. But we connected on the phone. And we had great telephone conversations. Now, you may pick up the phone, you may call them, and they don't have an ability to talk. Hey, that's fine. You call them back again, they don't. Then you go ahead and pop them an email. You pop them an email, hey, let's connect on the telephone. Here's the whole thing. It's not about checking in. It's not about checking in. Unless you are genuinely caring about them. I'll give you an example from my own business. I had a client a number of years ago. Wonderful client, family-owned business. And I haven't heard from them in about 6 months. I did try to call them because I'm really concerned about them. I'm genuinely concerned about them and their business. See? So that's the only way. But a typical salesperson who doesn't have a relationship at that level, you don't sit there and say checking in. That is so pathetically lame. Bring value. One of the easiest ways to connect with old clients is this. They may be in a particular industry. So what you're going to do is you may have an article that you saw. You may see something. Now, if you send a link to somebody who you don't know, they're not going to open it. They're just not going to open it because of all the garbage. Last thing you want to do is get malware. No. But what I can do is this. I can sit there and send them and say, hey, I just saw this on Bloomberg.com. I just saw this CNBC. I just saw this. And I list 2 or 3 bullet points. Hey, I'm sure you can find it, or call me or email me and I'll get you the link. Now, what are you doing? You're bringing value to them. Bring value to your customers and your prospects, new and old alike. Okay? Next question. Hi, Mark. I've been in sales for 11 years. Last year, I lost a good client. Fear of rejection stopped me in reaching new clients. Oh, man. Oh. You need the book, A Mind for Sales? You need the book, A Mind for Sales? Hey, we've all lost clients. I've lost many, many clients over the years. And I look back and I go, just stupid me. You have to be willing to reach out and pick up the phone. The way you do this is you might be just plain not motivated. I get it. Think of all the outcomes that you can create. Think of all the help that you can bring to people. And remember, you are not selling to a company. It's a person. And it's a conversation. What you are having is a conversation. And more than ever right now, I love having these conversations. Because when I have these conversations, it's amazing what comes from it. I'm going to share with you a story. And it very much impacted me. Back, this is probably about 10 years ago. I thought I had a really good business. And it was interesting because I made a trip to China. I was out of the country for about 10 days. And I came back, and each one of these 5 really good clients literally, boom, fell apart. Now, remember, this would have been about 11 years. This was right at the start of the Great R, the recession. And literally in the course of 2 weeks after coming back, all 5 of those companies were gone. And believe me, I felt rejected. I felt absolutely rejected. because wait a minute, I thought I was going to China to develop a new client. I came back and my existing clients were all gone. What I had to do was I had to take a step back and do an inventory of everything I'd been doing. I had to zero in and get focused and get laser focused. And when I got laser focused, then I began to realize who was it that I could help. And then I simply got back on the horse and I began making calls. And what you need to do, if you have this fear, you have to say, hey, my goal today, I'm going to make 10 calls. I am going to make 10 calls. I have to do it. I'm going to make 5 more calls. I'm going to make 15 more calls. And if you're so scared to do that, what you're going to sit there and say is, I'm going to literally put them in my calendar. At 12:30, I'm going to sit there and I'm going to make 3 calls. At 12:45, I'm going to make 2 calls. And you hold yourself accountable. If you're still struggling with this, what you do is you pick up the phone. In my book, I have a couple chapters in here on mastermind groups and peer groups and so forth. You have somebody who will hold you accountable. Years ago when I first got in this business, I've been doing this about 21 years. That's exactly what I did. I had a couple people who literally we had to challenge each other because we're all kind of starting our businesses about the same time. They had to challenge me. I had to challenge them. And what did it do? It's amazing how a rising tide lifts all boats. Now, what we've been talking about here is another section in the book, A Mind for Sales. Here's a couple things I want to leave you with. And if you got a question, fire it in real quick, because otherwise we're going to wrap this up here in just a couple minutes. Sales is not about the tools. Sales is not about what you sell. It's not about your price point. It's not about the territory you sell in. It's not about the tool, all the software you got, all the stuff. It's your mind. And let me tell you something. Right now, more than ever, your mind is what's going to make you successful or not make you successful. I had a very painful call the other night. The other night I was on the phone with a couple friends. Very, very smart. Credible set of business tools, credible business. And these individuals were totally rejected, totally down on everything. And I'm like, this is driving me crazy. This is driving me crazy. Nothing's changed. What's the only thing that's changed is the medium. That's the only thing that's changed. Now, you may have an industry that you can't sell into. I get it. Then you guys say, how do I pivot and move to a different industry? The example I like to use is back in the day, radio. Okay, long before my time, radio was where it was at. And then along came this thing called the television. And there were people who pivoted well to television, and there were others that didn't. And the ones that didn't got left behind. You see, what's happened is how we sell has changed because we're now in a work from home. Guess what? It's a different environment. See? It's a different environment. The same thing. Go back years ago, Meredith Elliott Powell, who I have a lot of respect for, we were talking about this the other day, and she said, it's a lot like when we moved from an agriculture economy to an industrial economy. Yes, very much so. And what happens is it changes. Well, what we're seeing happening right now is we are seeing a pivot that would normally take 20 or 30 or 40 years, and it's being, boom, pushed into, literally, a 2-3 month window. See, I think this is great. Because if we can pivot and say, where's the different industry? Where's the different delivery? What are the processes I need to change? But see, here's what it comes down to. The outcome that you provide is still the same. Let me give you an example that's happening right now. Toilet paper. Here's a very real example, okay? Now, let me tell you something. You go to Costco, you go to Sam's, you go to any grocery store, and it's hard to find toilet paper. Everybody's hoarding toilet paper. Now, is the consumption of toilet paper increasing? No. But the supply chain is. And I didn't realize this till somebody pointed this out to me. Remember that a lot of the day we used to spend at work. So that meant we didn't use our own restroom, our own bathroom at home nearly as much. We used somebody else's toilet paper. We might be in a restaurant. We used restaurant. See, what's happening is the delivery method of toilet paper has now changed. See, industrial, commercial sales of toilet paper are definitely down, hotel down, but home usage is up. Total consumption's the same. It's just the shift. You see, I want you to look at this and say, where do I have to pivot to find where my market has gone? And when you do that, it is amazing what you will find. That's why I'm excited. That's why there was no hesitation on me coming out with this book, A Mind for Sales, because I truly believe it's going to help you pivot. Is there rocket science material in here? No. Guess what? The world's been invented. Guess what? Air is still there. Gravity is still relevant. But what it's going to do, it's going to change your thinking. That's why I'm really high on the book, A Mind for Sales. I want you to pick it up. I want you to share it with a friend. Let me know how it is. And hey, leave a review on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, wherever you bought it. Hey, we wanted to have this run 30 minutes, and we're right at 30 minutes. My name is Mark Hunter, the Sales Hunter. TheSalesHunter.com is the website. Join us Friday, because we got one more session, session 5, same time. Vimeo, YouTube, Facebook. I'm Mark Hunter. The book, A Mind for Sales. Great selling.